Hello, welcome. Delighted that you're here. Each week you'll meet a lady who will be sharing her story with you, and the intention is that you will be entertained, motivated, and inspired to share yours. It's time for women to rise and stand in heart-centered leadership. Join with us and stay tuned. We don't disappoint. Cheers. Well, hello and good evening and welcome to Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies. And every Wednesday night we bring you a leading lady. And tonight, our guest is absolutely fantastic. It's all about speaking and everything that it entails. And she is a whiz at it. The tips and tools that she's going to leave you with will blow your mind. And I can't wait for you to meet her. This is Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies. I am Joy Ruffen, the creator and founder of Leading Ladies. And women who are in their second act, second chapter, midlife, whatever verbiage you want to give it, they hire me to amp up their wow factor. And we're going to talk a lot about that a wee bit later. But for now, I want you to meet our guest tonight. Her name is Sasha Zebrick. And I want you to say hello and welcome, Sasha. Thank you for coming.
Oh, no, the invitation is great. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Listen, you and I met a long, long time ago, so it appears, at a networking event, which we both do a lot of. And I was impressed at that time. But, you know, we all are so busy and with this lockdown. But I saw you on a show, and I said, I must have her as a guest. So I'm honored and delighted that you decided to be with us. Tell us what it is that you do when it comes to speaking, because most everyone wants to speak, and yet for many there's a fear of speaking. So share with us a little bit about that for you.
I look for somebody who wants to move through that fear because it's a learned skill. It's a lot of people think, Joy, that you're born with the gift. No, it's like a muscle. You build it up, you make it strong, you do everything that you can, which means you find somebody to help you. You learn a few points, you rehearse them, you practice them. And here's what I say, you don't have to be perfect. You have to be interesting. So said differently, I help people move through the fret and the fear to even the fun, because you and I know it can be fun being in front of an audience, whether you're giving a toast, a talk, a testimonial, a eulogy. Even a eulogy can be fun.
I love the way you put that, Sasha, because I think what happens oftentimes is that people forget, as I did, and probably you did initially starting out, that you have to practice, rehearse, and you get your spiel together, so to speak, and then you begin to build and mushroom in that. So it really is a lot of practice involved. And yet, how do you get those who are fearful of getting up in front of people to speak, to let their voices be heard? Because we all have a voice and we all need to be heard at some point in time. So how do you get people to open up and get that out?
I tell them, Joy, that power in speaking starts from the feet, not from here. It starts from the feet up. You got to be comfortable standing. Most people are somewhat comfortable sitting in a chair, but as soon as they elevate and get out of it, they see themselves differently because they want to be perfect, because they don't want to be criticized, because they don't want to make mistakes. So I help them change their thinking, because Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you think of things, the things you think of change. So I start with their feet. I start with them being comfortable standing and just saying something for 15 seconds. And then we take it from there. I teach them how to find the why. Why do you want to speak? That's the first question you ask. No, the first question you ask is, who am I talking to? But the second is why.
I've never heard it expressed that way. It resonates to the core. When you said that, you start with the feet, because usually people start at the top and go down to the feet, regardless to what it is, but you start at the feet and you go up. And then the second thing is why. Why do people want to be out in front of the public speaking?
Well, some of them, from my point of view, there's so many benefits of speaking. And do you know, from the National Speakers Association, my mentor, Fripp, said to me, nothing positions you ahead of the crowd more than the ability to stand up and speak eloquently. And there are 4 to 10 paybacks from that. And matter of fact, the person who speaks in his or her business earns more money, the study says, over the course of their lifetime than, let's say, a lawyer. A lawyer stays lawyering, but if a lawyer speaks about it, Rotary, different parts, she's going to earn more dollars over the course of her career than those who just practice law. That's the study.
And that's a proven, that's a fact. I get that. I'm sure everyone in the audience does as well. How can you share with us, Sasha, how I heard the why. You have to know the why. Start at the feet and then you get to the why. How does one begin to craft their stories? Because I know how important stories are. In fact, it's just come to me how vital they are in any presentation that you give. So how do you get a person to get to the essence of their why and then to craft their story?
I tell them to look at their life. And people who who think they're boring say, all the good stories happen to other people. So I slow them down. I say, when is the time when you had an aha moment? When is the time when you felt something so painful that somebody did? And what can you learn from it? Let's dissect it. Let's take it apart. Tell me about the child when you had to do ABC to them.
Yeah.
And so we really dissect it. And I say, if it's not a good enough point, I say, what do you think your point is? What's the lesson you learned? Let's go through the lesson. Let's find the lesson. And I remember having a big lesson when my mother, I was a few years in business, and my mother taught me something. And I don't know if I got it in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, oh my heavens, when I was telling somebody else it became a huge epiphany. So I say, you're a human being. You have stories. Bill Clinton said, everybody has a story. Most people don't know how to tell them. So I have them look at their life.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get to. Most people, not most, I think all people have stories. But what you said is they don't know how to tell them. Now, what I know, and you know, because I had to get this myself, first off, this keyword that's going around, Sasha, authentic, be you. But a lot of people, they don't know or they don't embrace or accept that there's a lot of, I don't like the word acting, but you've got to put emotion and heart and everything else into that speech. That monotone, that doesn't cut it. So how do you get people to get into the essence of who they are and emote in their conversation and their presentation to
I'll stay with the story for a minute. I have them literally write the first draft of the story, because if they say it again and again, they're going to leave out things. So I have them, in a sense, do it chronologically. What happened? That's kind of the first draft. The second time is I say, let's go through and take out 20%. Here's where I quote Alfred Hitchcock, Joy. Alfred Hitchcock says, movies are like life with all the boring parts taken out. Stories are like life with all the boring parts taken out. So the second time around, we reduce the story by 20% and we get rid of fluff and and then I tell them to do it again, write that out again and put in great adjectives. Pick adjectives and verbs that give a picture. So you're creating, because stories stick, stories sell. Why? Because they're emotional. Logic makes you think, but emotion makes you act. And that's how you can get your listener, your audience, whomever you're talking to, by telling a story. You have a reason. And when the reason is founded in emotion and you can deliver it, then that goes into long-term memory. About 18 years ago, I gave a talk, and a woman came to Vero last year, and she said, how's the chief? And I said, my stepfather? She said, I remember when you told about the chief in the garden. 18 years, Joy, because stories stick, stories sell. Why? Because you put the point in the emotion and you put a colorful picture around it with a beginning, middle, and end, and you have the aha moment. And that's your takeaway.
That is the takeaway. That is the takeaway. And yet, here's another question, because a lot of people, they have their stories, but yet when it comes to the emotion and the delivery, they're not showmen. And people who speak and are good at it and tell great stories are not showmen either.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to deliver. And that emotion, if it's not there, how do you get people to open up and get away from the fear of looking like mud on your face, egg on your
I have them use their body. I have them use their, first of all, it starts with talking louder, talking softer, because your voice is like punctuation. You could use exclamation points, question marks, pauses. Then I have them use their arms. What can they do with their arms? Then I have them get up and physically move so that that burden of looking, of feeling tight in your is removed. That's hard for some people and it takes time. So it's not going to happen tomorrow. Joy, you know, you don't own a talk or a story till you've rehearsed it 30, 40 times. It's not, and that's where I have people change their thinking. It's going to happen over time, not in a week. It's like, it's harder than losing weight sometimes or gaining weight. Yes, because you're doing a little at a time. I have a client who's with me 20 years because I'm his fast track. And every time he calls me his MacGyver. I always find, he says, you find something to elevate what I've given you.
Sasha, thank you for that, because we are in a time, even with this lockdown, even being confined, sequestered, and all those other adjectives, people are busier than ever, and yet many are still looking for that overnight everything. Good things take time. So say that again. It might take you much longer than you think, but if you want to speak, you have to be able to rehearse, practice, and get used.
And I would, with all due respect, I would change the verb have to want to. You have to want to.
Thank you.
How do you get to be a great football player, a great rower, a great golfer? You're out on the links golfing all the time. How do you get to speak another language? You practice it all the time. So it's not something. So for people, I have to analyze what their fear is. What is their fear? Some people don't like to be looked at. I understand that. Some people have this timid voice. So I tell them how to breathe from the diaphragm and how to I teach them how to lower their voice, not to have a twinky voice up here, but because voices carry authority and we have power in it. So the human being has lots of choices there. So I say, how, on a scale of 6, how important is it for you to speak? And if they say a 2, I say, I don't know if you're ready yet, or what do you want to do?
Sasha, you said something that's key and elemental, vital part of speaking. You said, and thank you for the correction, one has to want to. They have to want to. And when you said that, Sasha, it brought to mind for me, I love basketball, and one of my favorite players of all time is Michael Jordan. And you know what he did? I'm sure you do. After each and every game, he would get the video, and he would watch that video. I read many of the books, and go over what he did right, what he did wrong, and be prepared to correct that the next go out. And you're saying in different verbiage, the same thing for those who want to learn how to speak and be great speakers.
Let me give you, I studied Jerry Seinfeld. I saw him in Vegas. Yes, because he is a master at writing and then telling his story, whether it's the television. He and Larry David wrote that, the Seinfeld show. So here's what Seinfeld would say. He would say, I will spend an hour taking an 11-word sentence and making it a 5-word sentence. You see, that is when somebody is at that level, that is an incredible investment in their talent. We're given this talent, but we have to build it, not put it in the garbage, but really build it up and make it work and ask for feedback. And so when people are telling a story, I say, I look at your life, find something that made aha, then go to the story and say, what is your point? One single point. What's your bullseye that you want to hit? What is it? What's one take? Don't have 2 and 3 in the story. Have one. Have one that the person, the listener knows, oh, I can nod my head because I found it. And when you tell the right story, you appeal to the human, and the human being says, he gets me, she gets my pain, she gets my problems, she gets my pleasure, she gets all of me.
Yes,
Stories stick.
they do. And I love that you incorporated stories make the difference in the good speaker and the great speaker. Tell us in your verbiage, obviously, the 4 benefits that every entrepreneurial person goes out into the stratosphere that they must embrace.
Well, I'm going to talk from the point of view, perhaps, if I can use your question this way. Anybody who, if you're networking and you want to speak, learn to introduce yourself in a way that the listener says, oh, tell me more. So what are the benefits of speaking? When you learn how to speak in front of an audience, you're all speaking is about convincing and persuading. Would you agree? It's about convincing the listener that I have something to say and I want you to buy into it.
Yes.
But let's go to the other elements. Once you become good, you can convince and persuade. You can also be better at selling yourself, selling your product, your service. And when you speak well, whether it's at Rotary, at church, somebody asks you like this to speak, Joy Ruffen asked me to speak, you become an expert, and people buy from experts. You elevated yourself to the level of expert. And then you take all your expertise and you write a book, and then you have another level. Because if you're speaking all the time, you really want to put it in a book. I've written 3, and I've written 18 for other people, little tips books for people who can't write. They're very smart, but they can't write it. So I say, I'll be your ghost writer. And over the last 22 years, I've written 18 of them for CPAs, for people, for lots of different kinds of people.
And trivia, in these books, are you the co-writer or your name doesn't?
No, I'm not putting my name on it. I'm putting their name, because here's what I do. I interview them and I take all of the wisdom out of their mouth and I polish it and I rewrite it and I edit it and I put it in and I hand it to 1,000 copies to them. No, I don't want to be the ghostwriter because it's their wisdom. And,
yes. And you want them to show up and shine. Because
right.
That's the purpose
That's
of
right.
it. And the way that you spoke to emotion and how you convey and project that out and how that will get you in the speaking arena as an expert so that people will want to know more and more and more. That's the reality of it. That's the reality.
You just said something that made me think of another point when you said the emotional component of this. See, logic, one of my mentors coached me on this. Logic makes people think, but emotion makes them act. And when you just said stories take a good speaker to a great speaker.
Yeah.
Speakers who don't have emotional content in their stories are not going to get that person to take out their credit card, are not going to get that listener to volunteer. Logic makes people think, but emotion makes them volunteer, makes them act, makes them give you the money. Emotion, they say, oh my heavens, they're talking about human beings. I can help.
I love the way you put that, Sasha.
That's why when you're in nonprofit, you have to be a pro at telling stories.
Listen, I don't think you could express that and verbalize that in a better way, because you and I have heard absolutely phenomenal, fantastic speakers as far as verbiage and how they delivered. But something was amiss there in how they emoted to the audience, what they gave out of themselves to the audience. And I have to tell you, I'm just coming to that because I'm a little straight-laced and not prissy proper, but in that regard. So I get that. I'm finally getting, if you don't bring in your story some of you, a lot of you to the picture, then you're in, you know what, deep trouble.
But Joy, I could look at your life. And I've seen you and who you interview. You have so many stories. Here's the great part about owning your story.
Yes.
Nobody can take it from you and say it's theirs because it's too much part of your life. Nobody can talk about the chief, my stepfather, like I can. And this is the beauty of owning your own stories. If you tell somebody else's story, give them the credit. Don't take the credit.
Indeed, I get that. Listen, Sasha, you and I could go on forever and ever, and we will for a wee bit. I'm going to put you in the green room for just a split second. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you in I know, I'm going staging room, green room, all the same room, and I'll be back with you in just 1 second. Hold tight. I tell you, I absolutely love this. Why? Because I've wanted to speak with this wonderful woman for quite a while, because the way she conveys what it's all about when it comes to speaking is not to be paralleled anywhere. But here's what I want to do for you. I want to invite you to join and connect with me in my Leading Ladies Leaving Legacies Facebook group. And let me tell you this, starting November the 19th, I'm going to be doing a mastermind. Let's get you dressed with joy, your joy. And that's going to be on November the 19th. I'm going to have next week, or maybe tomorrow, we're working on a VIP wait list that you sign into. It's going to be marginal as far as price point. Forget about it, because the information that you're going to get, the joy code, is going to be phenomenal, fantastic. And I want to see you there. So make sure that you do. And by the way, put STYLE, STYLE, in the comments, and you'll be delivered your free complimentary gift. And it's always good to see you here. And if you're here for the replay, then remember that you will also be able to get your free complimentary booklet. Tell us, what do you find? I asked you before, but Sasha, I want to come back to it because I think it's important, because you qualified for me, and I'm grateful for that. It's if people want it. Why do people want to be? You've gone over a lot of stuff, but why do people want to be speakers? How did you decide, I should say, what made you decide that this was what you wanted to do, to support, guide, aid others to be the best speakers that they could be?
It happened on the way to Boston. My husband had me in a car. I was going to sing at a baptism. We lived 100 miles from Boston. And so when I was securely in my seatbelt, he said to me, "You are significantly underemployed." and I started to defend my, my territory and my company car and my vacation and my bonuses. And he said, "All of that is true. And they're using this much of your talent, like 1 inch."
Yeah.
And I said, I was really, and because he heard me speak at my parish, raising money. He heard me speak at other places where I have 10 siblings, so 8 sisters. So he had me, he said, "You'd be particularly good with women, and you have to be out there, and you need to start immediately." And so he told me 3 reasons why I should do it. And that it really, he was right, because when I got to Boston to do this this baptism, he went around and he said, "Sasha's thinking of becoming a professional speaker." And you know what the collective room said? "Well, it's about time." So people tell you what you're good at. I had this wonderful job, but not as wonderful.
Sasha,
as what I have.
let me interrupt you for 1 split second, because what you just said is paramount for anyone who wants to enter into this arena. Because oftentimes your husband and anybody that you're in a good relationship, and sometimes it doesn't have to be a great relationship, they can see in you, feel in you, hear in you what you can't see yourself. And that's what you're helping people to do, to get out into the public, to be the speakers that they're meant to be. So I get that. Yes.
Let me tell you 3 reasons, because I remember them so clearly. He said, I said 3 reasons. He said, yes. Number 1, you're very imperfect, and people will respond to that. You're very confident, and women will respond to that.
Yes.
And you're very likable, and people will respond to that.
3 home runs.
Well, he had been thinking about this, and I saw his wisdom and how he delivered it. It changed everything, because never have I been so gratefully happy. Because when you work with people like you do, Joy,
yes,
and you have the best name, Joy, no other name would fit you more than Joy does.
Bless your heart. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As a kid.
When you are in the gift that God has given you, when you are using that gift, and it should be used, it has made me the happiest, because I get to know people and their value deeply, deeply, deeply. And it's grand.
I don't think that there are a lot of other things, but I don't think there's much other that you could compare and connect that would give a person a better inroad to the discovery of themselves than to learn how to speak their voice themselves out in the stratosphere. Because as you said when we started out, everyone has a story. And the truth is, people want to hear stories. We all love stories. And I like what you said about Jerry Seinfeld, because he's always been one of my favorites, along with several others. But it's an art and a gift to combine humor with speaking. That's a whole different animal, I think.
So I would, for people who I hired a humor coach one time, and she, Rosemary Very from Boston, and I look for people who want to invest in themselves. People who want to speak need to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And everybody's good at certain things. So I've had many coaches who helped me perfect this and this and this and this. And I'm more of a dramatic speaker than a funny, but I've learned how to be funnier than when I was 20 years ago, let's say.
Now, that's interesting what you just said, because after a while, we all discover what type of speaker we are. Mm-hmm. And then we know what we have to add into that, right, Sasha? And like you said, you went out and you hired someone to get you a little bit more into the humor vein. So it's good to know what you are, what type. So whatever you're missing, you can get a wee bit of that.
And Joy, there are a lot of places where you can join. Toastmasters is an international place all over the world, no matter where you are. You can start a group. You can have it in your company. And the national speakers. When I became part of the National Speakers Association, that's when
I wanted to ask you about that. Tell us about the National Speakers Association, for those who are interested in joining that group, because I know you've been very instrumental in that, and you're on the director. So speak to that a wee bit, because time just flies here, Sasha. You and I could go on and on and on, and we probably will at some point. But tell us a little bit about the director, about the national.
I was speaking for a few years before I even discovered. Somebody told me about the speakers, and I was a couple hours from the New England meeting. And as soon as I went, I said, I'm home. I walked in the door, and then after I joined, you have to make a certain amount of money in order to join the national speakers. You just can't come in and join and that has to be money made from speaking. So it took me a year or so, or 2 years to get into national speakers. And as soon as I got in, they asked me to be on the board of directors, and I was just surprised. Here's the bottom line: when you are with experts who want to help you and you want to help them, you can grow faster exponentially. So I think NSA took me on a trajectory that I wouldn't have had I not done it. And then they asked me to be president. But I took over a chair of the Great New England Auction, and it just changed everything.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I've heard about this group and I know of it, but I wanted you to mention it to the audience, those who are now and will come later. The time goes, but I want you to leave us with any salient point, words of wisdom, something that those who come now and later can walk away with, and maybe begin, if they've been considering or thinking about it, to implement getting into the speaker's circle. So
I would say a lot of people say speak from your heart. I say this: start with your heart, then go to your head and write it all down. Get it well done, rehearse it, and then deliver it from the heart.
Ooh, I like that. I like that, because I think most of us are on the spiritual path, and we know that the heart, the soul, connected, the spirit, the essence of us. So I appreciate that. Start with the heart, the head, write it down, and then get going. Sasha, thank you.
Thank you again, Joy. And you have the best name. The best name.
Thank you. I appreciate your being here, all of these salient points that you're leaving us with. And I look forward to seeing you again and again at different network meetings, and we will be in touch. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Bye, okay? Joy.
Bye. Listen, every week I bring to you these fantastic, phenomenal leading ladies who are leaders in the area that they dwell in, that they work in, that they guide, support, and aid others to be the best that they can be in. And that's what this show, Leading Ladies, is all about. Now, there's a lot in the hopper, and it's been in the hopper for a while, but we're getting there. Remember, November the 19th, that's the day, and I'm going to be putting up a link where you can go and opt in on my VIP waiting list. And every week I leave you a tip. I didn't even mention or get to Sasha about style because I wanted to really get into the speaking arena because that's her area of expertise, and she's darn good at it. So if you're out there and you're seeking someone to guide, mentor you, then you must get to her. The intention for this show is that we all connect with one another. It's our time. It's time for women to rise, support, guide, aid, and assist one another. All of that nilly-willy kind of stuff, throw it on the back burner. So you'll get the name and all the information here. Make the connection. Send a Facebook friend request. She's going to embrace you as you will her, and that I can promise you. And when it comes to style, developing and uncovering your own, especially now that we're all working out of this box, is everything. So until we connect next week, same time, same station, you do what? You wear that mask, you be well, stay well, look after you first so that you can look after others. And I can't wait to see you next week, same time, same station. So long for now. All the best. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's see. Stop this. Well, okay, leading ladies, leaving legacies, not ever goodbye. Why? Because it's our time. Join us as we move onward and upward in style. Connect with me on my website. I can't wait to meet you. Make it soon. Cheers. Welcome and hello. This is your Biz to Biz with Joy. A weekly show where I interview men and women in business who are looking to connect with you, sharing their philosophy, platform, and how they serve you. Stay tuned. We love good company. See you soon. Cheers. Ready to go. It says we're live. Well, hello and good evening and welcome. Welcome to Business with Joy. Grow your business in style. Biz to Biz. And every Tuesday night, we'll be bringing to you distinguished guests who are all about business. But tonight we have two guests. And we have two guests who are going to explain and share with you what they're all about when it comes to business for people who are entrepreneurial in their spirit, in their essence. And it's a group that I've just been introduced to. But I love this group, and I begged and pleaded. No, I didn't, but I wanted to. I didn't have to join and to become a member because I love what they're about. So I really want you, by the way, welcome, and thanks for being here. I want you to tune in and listen to all the things that they're going to share with us about Florida's virtual entrepreneurial community. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And welcome. Thank you for being here. Let me bring up our guests. I've never had two at the same time, so we're going to have fun with this. We'll bring up Chris Steffen, and we're going to bring up, hello. Let's see if I can get you both together. There we go. This is Chris Steffen and Michael. Michael, help me with your last name.
Zaharias.
Zaharias. Okay. Welcome, and thank you guys for being here. I am honored to have you here because I love your group, your community. So I want you to tell us, Michael is the director, Chris is a program manager, but tell us about this group. Get us excited about this group as I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Joy, for the invitation, and to all of you for tuning in tonight. We wouldn't be here without you, the entrepreneurs, folks like you. So you, the business owners, get us excited about supporting you and helping you increase your prosperity here in the state of Florida. The Florida Virtual Entrepreneur Center is an online website geared and tailored to business owners that are in Florida. You can find resources on our website. You can find the profiles of other entrepreneurs. You can view webinars, read blog posts, everything centered around helping you become better at business and achieving your version of success right here in Florida is available on flvec.com.
I love it. I love it. Michael, it's a great group. I said to Chris earlier, one of my dear friends that I met 3 years ago introduced me to this group. I had not heard of FLVEC. And then she said, I think you should be a part of this group. And she introduced me. I met Chris and then you. And I'm absolutely wild for this group because I love all the things that you're doing. And the way that you explain much of what you do is great. So we're inviting everybody to come in and to join and to connect with us. So tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do what we do because of, like I said, entrepreneurs like you. We have local sponsors that we work with, organizations that support our mission and make it available free to business owners like yourselves. If you're operating a business here in Florida and you would like to have your profile up on our website, go to flvec.com, click on the sign up, let us know who you are and what you're doing. And then we'll reach out to you to let you know the options for getting involved, just like Joy and more than 1,000 other business owners have already done.
I think it's great, Michael. And I met you through Chris, who did my interview. So Chris, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you're involved with FLVEC.
Sure. So I basically just do whatever Michael tells me to do.
I love that. And
so I told you earlier in the show, Joy, before we came on air, that I do all the interviews. So I deal with the entrepreneurs, or I work with the entrepreneurs, I should say. Michael's kind of on the sponsorship side, and I interviewed you, and I do that for, gosh, I'm close to 700 interviews of founders, CEOs, and owners across the state of Florida. And what I do is I interview them and ask them about their journeys, challenges they faced, why they started their business,
right.
Advice for others, how they scaled, put that together in a nice story.
Yes.
And it's just the final product is a profile that they can use as a marketing piece. And it's just great exposure for their business.
Well, listen, I think, Chris, I don't hold back that you're making too light of what you do. Because yes, thank you, Michael, thank you. Because when you interviewed me, you brought out things that I knew but hadn't thought about. You brought them to the surface. And then when you sent back to me what you wrote, I said, my goodness, bravo. So you cannot make light of what you do because you do an admirable job when you interview people. Because sometimes we find, and I speak for myself, really, I say we, but that oftentimes people aren't able to express exactly what it is at the core that they're about and what they want to do. And you're able to help one explore and bring that to the surface. And you have a natural gift for that. And I can attest to that. Would you agree, Michael?
I agree 1,000%. The value that Chris brings to our team and to entrepreneurs like you, there is no price tag that you could put on it. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do for FLVEC without a team member like Chris. He is really great at what he does. And if you go read any of the profiles that are on FLVEC, you will see his mark and his words all over it. So,
yes,
get yourself an opportunity to talk to Chris, sign up on FLVEC. When you see what he produces for you in terms of your story and your profile, it will get you new business. People do business with people that they know, and this is the whole reason why we created the profiles, is so that someone that wants to get to know somebody else can actually get to know them. It isn't just a static listing of who they are and what they're doing. There's a story behind every business and behind every entrepreneur. So let's get it out there.
And Chris is very personable. He stays in contact. He responds ASAP. He's very professional. And so are you, Michael. So this is a group and an organization that everyone in Florida who's in an entrepreneurial business, product or service, ought to be attached to. And I'm very adamant about that. And really, not brown-nosing, honored that you're here to share what you're doing. Tell us, Michael, how you got started and what prompted you to begin and start this community, this group. I think that's spellbinding that you're doing it.
Yeah, really, really good question, Joy. And just so everybody knows that's watching, Chris and I work for the Florida High Tech Corridor Council. FLVEC is a program of the High Tech Corridor. And the High Tech Corridor is an economic development organization powered by UCF, USF, and UF. And so part of the corridor's mission is to support innovation and entrepreneurship in the region and in the state. And so FLVEC is one program or tool that the corridor has. We actually got started with FLVEC 12 years ago. It has been around for 12 years, and I have been a part of it since almost the very, very beginning. Over time, we have grown, we have pivoted, we have done focus groups to take in feedback and get better at what we do. Everything that you see on FLVEC is driven by the marketplace, entrepreneurs telling us what they need and want, and our sponsors telling us what they need and want to serve businesses.
Right, and you do an admirable job, and you use that word that's in the stratosphere now, Michael, and you can't get away from it, pivot. Everybody's pivoting in one way or another. So give us some tips and tools about how you support those who are entrepreneurial and in business for themselves. What are some of the avenues that they can explore with you and your community?
Yeah, absolutely. You heard us talk a lot about the profile. So that's our
Yes.
core feature, is to create a story about you and your business. Your headshot is on the profile. There's links back to your website for optimization purposes. There's actually a contact button on every profile that we do so that other readers of your profile can reach out to you and say, hey, I want to buy your product or service. I'd like to get some mentorship from you or celebrate your success that you've achieved right here in Florida. So the profiles are one thing. If you're looking for support hiring employees or finding a location for your business or understanding the tax environment, we have a list of over 800 resources on FLVEC that is organized by county and by city. You just go in and tell us where you are, and then the list will show you the resources that can help you based on your location. In addition to that, Chris does a monthly entrepreneurs Zoom call where those that have a profile get to hear a quick update on FLVEC, and then we introduce an entrepreneur to the group to talk about their story, and we also introduce a resource to talk about who they are and what they do. So we've got profiles, we've got resources, we've got webinars, Zoom meetings, we've got the blog on the website. We have, if you have a question about your business, you can submit a question to us and we will find the answer for you, or we will bring in a partner who can help you get the answer to that. And, you know, Chris and I, we are entrepreneurs ourselves, and that's what makes FLVEC so great is that, you know, when you reach out to us, we understand what you're going through. We talk your language and we move. Let me be very clear about this. We move at the speed of the entrepreneur. You will hear from us at any time, day or night. When Chris and I are up, we're responding. So we try to get back to folks as soon as possible so that you can get back to business and so that you can hire more people and do more to increase prosperity in Florida.
I think it's more than admirable what you're doing. And somehow we have went by that this is somewhat the word that people use. You are sponsored and you have a lot going on for you, but people can come and connect and join with you, and there's no obligation except to be a good, upstanding community member within the group. That in itself is a blessing. So that's why we're inviting everyone out there who's not familiar, as I was not until my friend introduced me to this group. And then I fell in love with the group because I know about all the tremendous things that they're doing within the community and throughout all of Florida. So if you're out there, tune in and let them assist, guide, and be with you on your journey, wherever that is and wherever it's going to take you. What would you say would be the number one group of entrepreneurials that I know you support everyone and you help everyone, but is there a larger segment of people who are doing maybe different types of things, real estate agents or affiliate marketers, direct? What area do you have the most people who are in that circle with you?
Chris, you want to take this one?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, I would say that, you know, looking at the stats, and I think, Michael, you'll agree that the professional services section is definitely by far the most folks that we've interviewed. But, you know, and a lot of people don't really know what that means. I mean, that's, you know, so many different categories fall under that umbrella, professional services. But honestly, like, you know, the people that we interview, it's across the board. I mean, we interview folks, you know, one person businesses up to CEOs that have, you know, 1,000 employees. We interview high tech, we interview marketing agencies, pool companies, computer repair businesses, you name it. And even though we're under the umbrella of the Florida High Tech Corridor, whose mission is to attract and retain high tech industries in Central Florida, outside of that environment, there's a whole ecosystem of businesses needed to support high tech industry, and those include a lot of the businesses that I just mentioned.
Yes.
So we're here to support those individuals, whether it be, again, a one-person business, 100 people. Every business matters to us.
Chris, you mentioned, I'm so glad that Michael turned this over to you. I wanted to hear from you as well, because you mentioned a word that one of the many reasons that my heart and my adoration went out for FLVEC was that it is a group of professionals. Entrepreneurial people overall are aspiring to get more and more, no matter where they are, what type of business or product or service, into the professional realm. And this is one of the things that you guys are very, very much involved with. You look to aid, assist, and guide in the most professional manner that I have seen anywhere. And there are lots of networking groups out there, and I belong to a lot, and they're all good. They're all excellent, or I wouldn't be there. But somehow there's something about FLVEC and what the two of you are doing that pulls people in, and they stay and they click with you. What would that be, you think?
I'll answer real fast, and then I'll let Michael answer. But, Joy, you mentioned before, or actually Michael mentioned it, that, we're entrepreneurs at heart.
Yes.
And, we honestly treat FLVEC like it's our business. It's our baby. Michael and I, we both work late hours. I'm up at 5:15. He's up till 11:15. I do the early shift. He does the late shift. But we really treat this thing like it's ours. We take pride in it. We love what we do.
It shows.
We're very passionate about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it shows, Chris. It really does. And I say over, and I'm repetitive, over and over again. I'm so absolutely thrilled that this lovely lady that I met introduced me to the two of you and the group, because I have met quite a few interesting people, and I attempt to attend as much as I can. You have so much going on. Tell us a little bit, Michael, about the webinar that you do with the people that you bring in, and you interview them and you get their message and their stories out into the stratosphere. Tell us a little bit about how you go about doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in March, when we all went into lockdown, our sponsors asked us to host webinars. We weren't doing webinars prior to March. At the same time, the entrepreneurs that we had profiled were asking us for additional ways they could gain visibility through what we were doing. So we said, okay, if you have a profile on FLVEC and you want to talk about a subject related to business, submit that to us, and then we'll put together, at whatever time convenient to you, a Zoom session. We'll host it, we'll market it, and all you have to do is show up and deliver the content. And so we've done probably just under a dozen webinars now. And what we do is you have to, the live sessions are for folks that have a profile in FLVEC. So the speaker is someone who has the profile. The attendees are individuals that have profiles, but we then record them and we make them available for playback after the fact. And so if you go to flvec.com, you can click on the webinars button. You can watch any of the webinars that we've done. And the whole goal is to obviously share wisdom, right? That's a part of it. But to forge connections and to provide these entrepreneurs an opportunity to have that video content, which is so powerful these days, so that they can go back and use it in their own marketing and outreach efforts that they're doing. It helps raise them up a notch. You become a thought leader when people see that you've been featured in a webinar, or a profile's been written about you, or we have a blog on FLVEC. Chris and I don't write the blogs. It's the entrepreneurs who are experts in their industry. They send us their blog posts. We review them, give them some feedback, and then we publish them. But that's another way, in addition to the profiles and the webinars, that we are working to support you, the entrepreneur.
Well, that leads me to another question, but I'm going to ask you I'm going to put both of you in the green room for just a split second while I do a quick intermission. But while I'm away, I want you to be thinking about, while you were talking about that and sharing that with us, Michael, I'm thinking all about how do you market? Because I know something that you offer to me that I think is spectacular. So hold on for just a second. I'll be back. You'll be able to hear everything. Don't you love these guys? This group, FLVEC, is fantastic. And if you're a Floridian and you're here in this state, absolutely belong with this group. This group offers you so much, and they don't ask for much except that you do and be your best and a professional and be ethical in everything that you're doing. There's not much more than that one could ask for, because business, bottom line, is business. Let me say welcome. Sometimes I get so excited and carried away with our guests, I forget to say that, even though it might be scrolling across the screen. It's always good to see you here. And if you're coming for the replay, hashtag replay so that we'll know that you were here. And also, all of the information that you'll need for both Michael and Chris will be scrolling across the screen. And then this will go on to YouTube and many other sites later. But for now, make sure that you touch base with them. And here's what I want to share with you. I have a mastermind coming up November the 19th. I didn't put the link here because we're still working on it, but I'm, after this is over, going to put it on my Facebook business page. And I want you to get on my VIP waiting list, because this mastermind is going to be awesome. And for those of you who know me, you know I love mystery and intrigue, so stay tuned. And whatever you do, make sure that you connect with both Michael and Chris and get on in their group, in their community. It will benefit you in more ways than I can say or share with you at this time. So now what I'm going to do is bring both of you back, and I want to ask you a little bit about, once I get to know how to work these dials, I'm going to ask you a little bit about, Michael, your marketing, because one of the things that you shared with me when I first came aboard was that after the interview was done, that I could take a video, X amount of minutes, I don't recall, and you could embed that into the interview, the blog that's on the, I think that's fantastic. I don't know of many groups that do that. Tell us a little bit more about how you support and market the people who are in your group, in your community.
Yeah, this is where, again, Chris didn't play this up enough, but one of the other things that he does is, after he completes the profile and you review it and approve it, he shares it on our social media channels, and that's big, because just like we're here right now streaming live, there are a lot of eyeballs on social media. So we put your profiles out on our social media. We tag you in those so that you're notified, and so that you can grab what we've already published and reshare it, right? So you don't take one step rather than taking 3 steps. The other thing we do is we have the profiles are set up to show up in the county or city where you're located, but we also have a site-wide or statewide view of all the profiles that are on FLVEC. So it's important to support your local community, but it's also important to reach out across city and county lines so that you can get to know other entrepreneurs, or so that you can find resources that maybe you don't have in your area. There is not a single area in Florida that has every resource. It's the state as a whole that has the resources. So, if you're going to go to, if you're in Jacksonville and you're going to travel down to St. Lucie County, I would encourage you to jump on the FLVEC for St. Lucie County, look at the other entrepreneurs that are there, and maximize your time that you're in that community. What a great icebreaker to say, hey, Joy, I read about you on FLVEC. I love your story. You get to see the picture of Joy. You can even download her profile on FLVEC.
Michael,
that's another thing that we're doing.
I think this is beyond fantastic, because what happens is, I said to Chris earlier before you came on, none of us, no matter how brilliant, talented, and all the other adjectives you can use we don't do anything alone. We need a tribe. We need a group of people who aid, support, and help us to get to the finish line. And then we in turn around and help others to get there. It's like a community, a circle that goes around and around and around. And that's why I love what you're doing and the way that you're going about it. I think it's fantastic. Again, how I didn't know, somehow I overlooked that you've been at this for almost 12 years. That's a long time. So you've built up quite a community here. And what you just mentioned about it being an icebreaker as you're traveling throughout Florida, That's a great intro to meeting and connecting with other people. You know, the time goes here and it goes very, very quickly. In the time that you've been doing this, this is a question for both of you. I might know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. What gives you the most pleasure? What fills you up and just makes you feel like, oh my goodness, I know I'm doing the right thing. This is the best business adventure that I could be about. What would that be for you? I'm going to go to Chris before I come back to you, Michael. Yes,
Sure.
yeah,
Good question, Joy. I love these questions. And first of all, this is awesome. Like, I really love this. Like, this is an amazing thing you have here. It's really cool.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I said to Chris earlier, Michael, I'm like a 3-year-old kid going off to kindergarten school or something, or 4, whatever age, because I get so excited with the people that I bring on here, because I'm a perennial student and I'm always learning and always open for adventure and excitement. And when I find something new and exciting, I want to share it. I want to share it out. And that's what this show is about for me, this broadcast. So thank you, Chris. What would that be for you?
Absolutely. So, it's when I talk to the owners of the businesses and they tell me their story, for some reason, it comes off sometimes as therapeutic for them to talk about their journey, to kind of rehash their experiences of what they've been through. And, when we're done, I get a feeling that they've kind of looked back, and it's been like a nostalgic process to go through, to talk about their journey, to share it with others, to put it on paper. And then when I put it together in the form of a story and they get it and they read it, and in some cases they make corrections or little edits, but for the most part, they're so excited to get this story, recapping their journey, and they love it. It's a great marketing piece that they can use to share the history behind their business. And then, I know it serves as a great connection piece too, to share with other customers, to connect with other entrepreneurs. It's very satisfying
for both of you. It's a win-win for you and a win-win for them, because you've opened up avenues and thoughts and ideas that they didn't think about, and then you in turn can see through their eyes and their voice that you've done something great for them. So win-win. I like that. I like that. So what would it be for you, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's hard to pick one thing. So if I could, I'll just quickly pick two. I'm responsible for making sure that we have the funding necessary to keep this thing going and growing. And there's no better validation than when our sponsors, both public and private, sign up to support the program financially. So they're voting with their money that they want to support what we're doing with FLVEC. And that has a great reward to it, but it's even more rewarding when they sign up for year 2 or year 3 or year 4. And we have many sponsors, again, both public and private organizations that have supported us and continue to support us. And so for me, I would say that's the biggest piece. The other tidbit that I wanted to add in there is that, listen and look at the enthusiasm that you have, Joy, for what we're doing. And that is a great motivator for Chris and I to work hard every day, not worried about, did we work, 8 hours? No, we're working 10 and 12, 14-hour days. It doesn't matter. There is no time clock because of the joy that we see in Joy. And we get messages all the time from business owners who tell us, I got new business from my profile, or I made a connection to somebody who helped me get through a challenge in my business that I wouldn't have been able to get through on my own. So when we get that tangible feedback, it just puts a little bit more wind in our sails to keep pushing hard and doing the right thing.
Michael, you and Chris could not have answered that better. And both of you spoke to passion and the excitement that you get in working and dealing with people. And I'm sure, Michael, you're getting the funding has a lot to do with that passion that just shows up when you're going about gathering that for what you're doing. So I get that. The time goes here. I said that to Chris earlier, and it just flies by. And here we only have a few seconds left. So I want both of you to be thinking about what you want to leave this audience with now, and those who will come later for the replay. What do you want to leave? What message do you want to give out to them so that they will make sure that they connect with you? Because I want them to, but it's not about what I want, it's about what they want. So how are we going to get them excited? What words of wisdom are you going to leave for the audience tonight? And let's go back and start with you, Chris.
So I would say to existing entrepreneurs to keep going. Don't give up. You're going to hit bumps in the road, but just keep going. All the interviews I've done, the successful entrepreneurs, just stick with it. You're going to have challenges, but just keep moving forward.
Yes.
To those wanting to start a business, start now. Don't delay. If you have a great idea, something you're passionate about, don't wait. There's no better time to start than the present. Because today's unique. You'll never get today again. So get started, and don't quit your day job. So if you have a great idea, don't quit your day job. Start your business on the side.
Yes.
Gain some business. Start generating some revenue. Even if it's $100 a week, generate revenue.
There you go.
Gain some interest. Do some market validation. Get some feedback from your customers. Make tweaks. Don't be afraid to make changes along the way. And have fun. Life's a journey.
Yes, I love that. Couldn't have done it better, Chris. And Michael, for the few minutes that we have left.
Yeah, absolutely. I would, I would encourage you to listen to what Joy has said about how she found out about FLVEC. Now, she hasn't told us who referred her, so we don't know the person's name. But here's what I can tell you. I would submit that Joy holds that person in pretty high esteem right now because of her referral between us and Joy. Yeah. Now think about that for you with the people you know. If what Joy has told you is true about us with FLVEC, if you refer someone to us and we take good care of them, which we will, they will look at you at a higher level for that referral. Mm-hmm. It will keep them doing business with you. It will get them to re-engage with you. It will get them to be more involved in who you are and what you're doing. And that's, at the end of the day, what people really want is they want to get connected to people who are going to help them go to the next level. And they will remember the people who made the connections. Don't let me say it. Watch the replay. Joy has said it half a dozen times about the person that referred her to us.
Yes. I cannot thank the both of you enough. Michael, Chris, thank you. This has been absolutely delicious. And my only prayer is that people will come and somehow connect or get in touch with you. And I'm sure that they will. I'm going to say so long for now. I'm going to put you in the green room and I'll be with you in just a split second. Thank you. So long for now. What can I say? It is exciting. And no, I did not mention the name of this lovely lady. She knows. Chris knows because I mentioned to him. But that's not the point. The point is that you want to get in touch with FLV. Let me just say this to you. Every Tuesday night going forward, it's going to be Biz to Biz with Joy. Grow your business in style. It's all about style for me, but style is the manner and the method and everything that you're about in the business that you have decided to do as an entrepreneurial person. Make sure that you connect with the right people who will aid, assist, support you on your journey. And that's exactly what FLVEC will do with and for you. Tomorrow night, it's Wednesday night. It's Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies, Living Legacies. Join us. I always have exciting guests for you. You know that by now. And wherever you are and whatever you're doing, wear that mask. Stay safe and well, and look out for you first so that you'll look out for all the others who are around and about you. Great to see you here. Always good to be with you. Take care until we connect again. Next week, same time, same station. So long for now. Cheers. We appreciate you. Every week you'll meet professional men and women who stand out in the crowd, growing their business in style online. Join us each week. Want to be a guest? Let's make it happen. Connect with me on my website. All the best. Cheers.